With TJ Watt out for this week's wild card matchup against the Buffalo Bills, could his brother JJ be signed to step in his place and take over for his brother for this weekend's football game? Well, I mean, JJ's joking about it. I'm not too sure if it's actually going to happen, but I'm going to let you know what he said and what I think about it here in just a second right here on Steelers Talk. And then also, I'm going to tell you why Mason Rudolph is better than the comeback player of the year favorite right now, Joe Flacco, the Cleveland Browns quarterback. I think the numbers clearly show that Mason Rudolph has been the superior passer to this point in the season, and we're going to be breaking that down here in just a couple of minutes. And then also, could Sunday be Cam Heyward's last game in the black and gold and in the National Football League? Make sure you stick around to the end of today's video to see what Cam had to say last week about potentially retiring. And also, make sure you guys click that subscribe button here before we get into today's news and rumors, because we're going to have you guys covered with extensive offseason coverage for your Pittsburgh Steelers. Every time something breaking news happens, when they hire their new offensive coordinator, if they trade for Justin Fields, whatever the case may be, we're going to have you guys covered with breaking news coverage as well as in-depth free agency and draft coverage. Going to be going into my full scouting reports on the top draft prospects in this year's NFL draft, and I'm going to let you know which players the Steelers should be targeting in free agency. We also have live shows every single week right here on the channel, and oh yeah, it's all 100% free. So do me a favor right now, click that subscribe button right now. All right, so now let's talk a little bit about J.J. Watt, and once again, the Golden Goose here at Steelers Talk is back in the news here because he posted a picture on his Twitter of himself in a Steelers number 90 jersey on Tuesday with the caption, "Do you think anybody would notice?" Now, this is definitely a funny joke by Mr. Watt there, but, you know, and it's actually a really good edit as well. And honestly, he looks damn good in black and gold, so JJ, maybe think about it a little bit here. But, you know, guys, I think this is just a joke. I really don't think anybody should seriously be getting their hopes up that J.J. Watt, after sitting out this entire season to this point, is all of a sudden going to sign a contract for the playoffs and be ready to go and be in the proper condition to step in for a guy like T.J. Watt, his brother, that probably should win Defensive Player of the Year this year. But the man that is going to be tasked with taking over for TJ this week, Nick Herbig, the rookie out of Wisconsin. I have a lot of faith in this guy, man. I really do, all right? Not only has he really proven himself all season long, but he's actually gone up against this Buffalo Bills offensive line before, back in the preseason, if you'll remember, and he absolutely dominated against their starting offensive line. So I think that Nick Herbig, although he's not TJ Watt, right, he's not a Defensive Player of the Year candidate type of player, at least not right now, I do think that he's a very good player, and when you combine that with the talents of Alex Highsmith, I think the Steelers are going to be just fine defensively this week, and I think Nick Herbig is going to have a real coming out party here in Wild Card Weekend. Now, let me know down there in the comment section what you think of Nick Herbig stepping in for TJ Watt this week. Will he record a sack on Josh Allen this week? Type yes or type no for today's pinned comment. At some point during this video, YouTube is going to send an ad break your way. When that happens, make sure you get down to the comment section, find that pinned comment. It's right there at the top of the comment section, and answer today's pinned question with a yes or no. So now let's discuss Mason Rudolph, and this is a discussion that is really going to boil the blood of Cleveland Steamer fans across the country. Yes, their precious, sweet prince, Joe Flacco, has not been as good as Mason Rudolph this season. And by the way, I can prove it with numbers right now. So let's take a look at the 2023 stat comparison between these two quarterbacks. Mason Rudolph has technically played in 4 games, started 3 of them. Joe Flacco has played in 5, has started 5. So keep that in mind as you look at these numbers. Mason Rudolph's completion percentage is nearly 15 points higher than Joe Flacco's. All right, he's averaging almost 2 more yards per attempt than Flacco. All right, his quarterback rating and QBR, both way higher than Flacco's. In fact, Rudolph's is the highest in the National Football League in terms of quarterback rating among passers with at least 50 passes. All right, so Rudolph is definitely outperforming Joe Flacco, and in less games. All right, in 3 starts for Rudolph versus 5 starts for Flacco, Mason Rudolph is worth more points above replacement than Joe Flacco at this point. I think a big reason for this and the discrepancy in numbers and in these ratings is because Joe Flacco turns the ball over a ton. I don't know why this isn't being injected into the current national media narrative, because this guy's about to win Comeback Player of the Year despite having the highest interception percentage in the National Football League this season. He is 34th out of 34 passers in the league this year in interception percentage at 3.8. And yes, I know he's thrown 13 touchdowns. Yes, I know the Browns are undefeated when he is the quarterback. But that's more on the defense dominating and the run game actually playing pretty darn well with Jerome Ford leading the way than Joe Flacco just absolutely lighting everybody up. Yes, he's had some big highlight plays that have injected into the minds of NFL fans across the world. But Mason Rudolph, to this point, has played better than Joe Flacco. Not only does he have the better quarterback rating, QBR, points above replacement, 15 points higher completion percentage, he hasn't thrown an interception, and that's really the differentiator here between Rudolph's game and Joe Flacco. Flacco is reckless with the football, overly aggressive, throwing interceptions. Mason Rudolph knows when to take calculated risks, which has led to big-time success for the Steelers, 3 straight wins, and a playoff berth. I don't think there's any discussion. The facts bear it out. Mason Rudolph, at least to this point, has been the better quarterback than Joe Flacco in 2023. Now, coming up here, I'm going to be talking about Cam Heyward. Captain Cam, could Sunday be his final game in the black and gold? I'll answer that question, what he said about retirement earlier this season. But before I get into that, let's have a word from our sponsor here at Game Time. And Game Time is the fastest and easiest way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater in your area. I am somebody that loves to get last-minute tickets. And guys, I'm telling you right now, Game Time is the only ticketing app that you need on your phone because they have the lowest price guarantee, so you don't have to search around all these different ticketing apps looking for the best price. On Game Time, it's guaranteed. And then also they have flash deals right before the event starts, so you get even lower prices on the events once you get your tickets last minute. So it's definitely perfect for people like me that likes to go to MLB baseball games and get tickets 2 hours before the event, right? So something like that, it's going to be perfect for you. It's the fastest growing ticketing app in the country for a reason. You can buy your tickets in a matter of seconds, and with 2 taps on your phone, tickets are also sent directly to your phone instead of your email, which is very, very convenient feature that I loved using. In other ticketing apps, you have to go to your email. It's not as convenient. Really like that feature from Game Time as well. You can snag your tickets without the stress with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code SteelersChat. That's one word, all caps. It's right down there in the bottom right of your screen for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code SteelersChat, one word, all caps, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. So when asked earlier this season about potentially retiring, I think he was asked this after the Week 17 game against the Seattle Seahawks. What he had to say to that is, I have to see how my body feels. It's been a rough season. So it's definitely been a rough season for Cam. Of course, he missed those 4 games with that groin injury that he suffered in Week 1 against the 49ers. And his Pro Football Focus grade hasn't been as high as it has been throughout his career. Like, he's 28th right now, the 71.9 Pro Football Focus rating. He's been really good against the run. You know, he's still a really good player, but he's not quite as dominant as he was earlier in his career. I mean, you just look at the PFF grades throughout the last 5 seasons here. He's been a top 5 defensive tackle in football over the last half decade, and now here in 2023, he's gone from being like a top 5 guy to more of like a top 30 guy, which still isn't bad, right? He's not a bad player by any stretch of the imagination, but you can definitely see that the age is starting to catch up on Captain Cam. Maybe the injuries and all these different things are having an effect on his play this year, but it definitely seems like he's taken a step back this year. And it's definitely a possibility that he ends up walking away from the game of football to kind of leave before he really starts to decline and really affect this team moving forward. Now, of course, if he retires, the cap hit and the cap situation will definitely become pretty interesting for the Pittsburgh Steelers because Cam's contract is pretty large, so that could be some relief if he ends up retiring. But personally, man, I think that the leadership that he brings to this locker room, the run defense that he brings to that defensive line, the added pass rush as well is something that's just completely invaluable to this football team. And as long as Captain Cam wants to play with the black and gold, I think he should absolutely have a spot on this football team. Now, before I go, I do want to talk a little bit about the Steelers secondary here and what it's going to look like this weekend against the Buffalo Bills, because they're going to be getting two of their starting safeties back this week in Minkah Fitzpatrick and Damontae Kazee. Minkah practiced fully on Wednesday. He's going to be good to go back at free safety. He's a Pro Bowler this year. And then Damontae Kazee, somebody that got suspended for the final 3 games after laying a nasty hit on Michael Pittman Jr. He's had multiple suspensions this year. The appeal did say that he could play in the postseason, so he will be back this week at strong safety. But I also think that Eric Rowe, who has really come on, he had that big forced fumble last week against the Ravens to kind of put the game on ice. I think Kazee and Rowe are going to be rotating with Minkah Fitzpatrick there at the free safety position. You also have Elijah Riley and Miles Killebrew. And then you also have Patrick Peterson that can come in and maybe shift with Minkah, do some pretty creative things, because Patrick Peterson has actually done pretty well at free safety here in Minkah's absence. But now that Fitzpatrick is back, I absolutely think that we're going to see some 3 safety packages now, because for the first time in a while, there's actually some depth here in the safety room for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I do think you're going to see kind of packages here where both Minkah Fitzpatrick, Damontae Kazee, and Eric Rowe are all on the field at the same time. That's what the Steelers loved to do last year at the end of the year, had a ton of success with it. So I would be, I think that if I were Teryl Austin and Mike Tomlin right now, and you're getting these 2 guys back and they're fresh, I would say, hey man, let's get these guys going. Let's have them move around. Let's do some exotic stuff that Buffalo hasn't seen on our defensive film so far this year, and try to confuse Josh Allen, who is a really good mental processor in his own right. Then you go over to the cornerback room here. I do think Patrick Peterson is going to be making the move back over to outside corner after filling in for Minkah at free safety these past couple of weeks. I think that's the right move. I don't really trust Levi Wallace in a starting capacity against Gabe Davis, whoever they have at number 2 wide receiver. Joey Porter Jr., of course, is going to be going up against Stephon Diggs, a top 10 route runner in the National Football League. Can't wait for that matchup. But, of course, you've got Chandon Sullivan at the nickel as well. So, like I said, expect to see Pat Pete back on the outside this week. And now that doesn't mean they can't use him in some creative ways. Maybe they do some crazy shifts with their zone coverages. Maybe they have him at a couple of reps there at safety. Who knows what their plan is for Pat Pete this weekend. But that's definitely an intriguing thing that's going to be hard for Buffalo to prepare for. I also trust Patrick Peterson in coverage a hell of a lot more than I trust Levi. So I think that overall, this Steelers secondary is looking the best it has in weeks at this point. Now you tell me, let me know down there in the comment section, which position should Patrick Peterson play, not this weekend, but next year? Do you think he should make the full-time switch to safety and play alongside Minkah Fitzpatrick, kind of filling that role there? Or do you want him to stay at cornerback on the other side of Joey Porter Jr.? Let me know down there in the comment section. S for safety, CB for cornerback. All right, so that'll be at the end of today's show, guys. Really do appreciate all of your support. My name is Jack Sperry. I'm the host of Steelers Talk here at Chat Sports. And if you want more Steelers content from me on social media, you can find me on Twitter/X at Jack_Sperry. I just put out my official NFL awards picks for this year. I'm going to be doing my official picks for the playoffs coming up here in just a couple of days. And of course, as the NFL draft gets closer, I'm going to be doing a bunch of film analysis on my Twitter. So if you love film analysis, you want to learn more about football, you want to learn more about the Steelers, do me a favor, check me out at Jack_Sperry. And if you do so, I'll give you a shout out on the next Steelers Talk episode.